Good evening, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this evening, Portland, a man who tried to outsmart officers slapped with more charges. A man who attempted to escape police custody after taking officers to a location where he surrendered a weapon on Saturday has been slapped with several charges in addition to his previous ones. Charged with possession of an imitation firearm, escaping custody, assaulting a constable, and assault occasioning actual bodily harm is Winston Ward, a 58-year-old farmer, also known as Wardy, from Long Road District, Mansion Hill in Portland. Ward was previously in custody on possession of a prohibited weapon and assault at common law charges. About 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, Ward reportedly informed officers that he wished to surrender the firearm he had used during a previous incident, claiming that it was an imitation. Police subsequently escorted him to an area in his yard where he retrieved an imitation firearm and handed it over to the officers. It is alleged that Ward then pushed an officer and attempted to flee the area on foot. He was later apprehended, taken back into custody, and officially charged with the additional offenses. His court date is currently being arranged. Doctor charged with rape and abduction after sending birthday invite to patient. A doctor from Spanish Town, St. Catherine, has been charged with rape, forcible abduction, and a grievous sexual assault after he invited a patient to a birthday celebration and allegedly had sex with her against her will. Reports from the Center for Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse are that on Wednesday, August 28, a woman visited the doctor's office for a consultation and was later sent a text message inviting her to a birthday celebration. The woman agreed and attended the event but was later taken to several places. About 12:45 a.m., the woman asked to be taken home. However, the doctor allegedly took the woman to his house where he had sexual intercourse with her against her will. A report was made to the police and the accused was arrested and subsequently charged after a question and answer session. His court date is being finalized. JPS says it is prepared to respond to possible outages from adverse weather conditions. The Jamaica Public Service Company says it is prepared and ready to respond to the potential impact of the adverse weather conditions that are expected to affect the island over the next few days. The energy company said it will be activating its 24-hour adverse weather incident command operations at 4 p.m. Sunday to ensure a safe and timely response to outages caused by the weather system. Information from the Meteorological Service of Jamaica indicates that an approaching weather system is likely to affect most parishes with showers, thunderstorms, and strong winds. These adverse conditions, JPS said, could result in power outages. JPS President and Chief Executive Officer Hugh Grant explained that JPS has already started taking the necessary actions to ensure that both JPS teams and contractors are positioned to restore supply to the affected customers as safely and as quickly as possible. He noted, however, that while every effort will be made to restore power supply to affected areas safely and quickly, the teams may not be able to respond immediately if it is unsafe to do so. Depending on the severity of the impact of the adverse weather conditions on the power system, restoration could take hours, days, or even weeks. Our priority is to get the power restored safely and quickly, and we will be working with the relevant agencies to reduce the delays caused by roadblocks and landslides. We ask our customers for their patience and give our commitment to keeping affected customers updated throughout the process, Grant said. In the meantime, JPS is urging members of the public to stay away from fallen poles and downed power lines. Please make safety your first priority. Also, as we all work together to restore normalcy after the passage of the weather system, Grant stressed. The energy company is reminding customers to make reports and get updates through the MyJPS mobile app, social media channels at MyJPS Online, and the GPS WhatsApp channel. Valentine night haunts Rockfort children, leaving lasting mark. Parents and the school administrators help them battle trauma. Dozens of children who witnessed last month's murder of 5 people in Rockfort, East Kingston, are still suffering from psychological trauma. Some have reportedly become silent and fearful of the dark, while others have been violently acting out, leaving their parents and the school administrators in daunting fight to reach them. The 5 dead men were identified as brothers, fathers, and close friends of the children, who were all at a community get-together when the gunmen struck late in the evening of October 22. Since then, their parents and the teachers at the Norman Gardens and Windward Road primary schools, where many affected students attend, said there has been a noticeable change in some students' behaviors. A 10-year-old Norman Gardens primary student had just spelled the winning word, science, beating out at least 8 other children at the event. She and her friends were at the height of their celebration, revving with optimism to also win the bun-eating competition that was to come. But their celebrations were short-lived, shattered by a volley of gunshots and then chaos. The gangsters turned their weapons on the men, a red laser trailing from victim to victim, residents said, and made sure those on the ground were indeed dead before leaving. One young girl reportedly took cover in a nearby shop in which the killer's aim hovered over her through the windows and the doors. She was about to make a run for it, but was held back by a gentleman who was also hiding in the bar. When the shooting ended, she and others darted down a hill from the event to their homes, all the time calling out for their parents as other parents called out for their children in the bedlam. Since then, the children in the community have not been the same. Some children have reportedly given up on school, bent on avenging their murdered relatives. Others play out the deathly scene at school, using violence, intimidation, and the talk of the gun against their peers. Still, some relate how the dead men received pure headshots, while others have become docile, fearful, and distrustful of adults, particularly persons in authority. One of the girls, a usually punctual and eager student, now prefers arriving at school late since the incident. She is a quiet student, she is intelligent, and she loves spelling and her schoolwork, but she doesn't like to leave out early in the mornings again. Now she rather waits until after 7 when it brightens out to go to school, related her mother, adding that the girl is still grappling with the trauma of her older brother's murder in the community a few years ago. Last month's incident has reignited those painful memories for the family, the mother said, pointing to a spot along the roadway not far from where she stood on Friday. She said her son collapsed there not long after being shot. It affects her and it affects me because remember me lost a son and she lost a brother, so it's like it brings back memories. She never handled her brother's death well. She had to get counseling on top of counseling. Even recently, her teacher said she was in class and she just broke out in tears because she misses her brother. Ferron said, adding that the young girl wants to be a medical doctor or a cop and remains steadfast in her studies. She always says she's going to get justice for her brother, Ferron said ominously. Another youngster, whose father and grandfather were killed during the attack, has reportedly lost the desire to attend the school. Minutes before the shooting, he was a picture of happiness, residents said, noting his fierce competition with the others for the top spot in the spell down before the explosions. His one word he missed and he dropped out of the spelling competition. When he missed the word, he held his head and walked away, said Trisha, a resident of the community. Him father dead and him grandfather dead. He's going to grow up with that. So you know how that goes, continued Trisha, noting that another 8-year-old female student who witnessed the killings were involved in an altercation in which she injured another student at the school last week. Her father died when she was 7 months old. Her uncle died after that. And now her father's best friend, who took care of her, died this time around. She's severely traumatized by all this, relayed another resident. The resident spoke of a 1-year-old who since the incident has been terrified of the dark and screams whenever left alone. That child was at the event. Police said a suspect in the killing of the 5 men were fatally shot in another section of Rockford hours after the incident, and that the sleuths have tied the murders to a gang rivalry that has links overseas. The area has since been under heavy security by police and the soldiers. Their presence is welcomed by the adults, but for the affected children, it is a different, more complicated story, school administrators explained. 2 guidance counselors and a student social worker at the Norman Gardens Primary School, where many of the affected students attend, said some are deeply fearful of the security forces. Some stare silently into space and are inattentive in classes. Others, particularly the Metro boys, reenact what happened that evening. Their more timid counterparts shy away for fear of seeming weak. We have one grade 3 student who was there threatening another that he will get a man to shoot out his head. We have those who are afraid to go home. Students who are afraid of the soldiers, some who feel safe that the soldiers are there and are afraid of the uncertainty of what will happen when the soldiers are gone. Norman Gardens, the primary guidance counselor, Tanisha Tomlinson Goodlit, told the news. For that 8-year-old student, Tomlinson Goodlit said, "Daddy has gone to work." Some students have been taken into individual counseling sessions. Though this approach doesn't work for all, some become silent and withdrawn in one-on-one settings, explained Rayonant Spence, a student social worker. She expressed the concern that the social and the familial challenges facing these children, noting that some are tragically exposed to images of the deceased, sometimes shown to them by their parents. "One of my students knew the persons who died. He was there, and when the shots started firing, he ran through the bushes and went home," shared Tanisha Peters Montague, acting principal at Winroad Road Primary and the Junior High School. She said the school has been offering assistance to affected students, but noted that the curfew in the community is a challenge for most. Some of the students would leave from here to go to other extra classes. One of the students I spoke to yesterday said she could not stay for extra class because of the curfew and that she had to go home. "But one thing is that our students are always present," she said, echoing sentiments by her colleagues at Norman Gardens Primary that to most students, school is a sanctuary from their chaotic communities. Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for another news update.